Right, good evening gents, it's a bit posh this, isn't it? Very, very nice to do. Chris, I wanted to start with you. It's a little bit like This Is Your Life, I don't know if you remember that, but we're going back down the time. Coaching, for you, when did you want to get into it? Why did you want to get into it? And everything in between.
Yeah, so for me it was, obviously I was playing, and I was reached the stage where I picked up a bit of an injury and I was kind of looking at, you know, what could be next for me, and I was at a club where I was encouraged by a lot of the coaching staff that were there that, you know, coaching could be a route for me to go down. So it was a difficult time, obviously being a young footballer and wanting to go on, but had to look quickly at what else was out there, and it was, you know, I was lucky because they kind of guided me and said that, you know, you could be a good coach if that's what you wanted to do. So with my, you know, parents and around me as well. So yeah, that's kind of my vision. To be honest, I just wanted to stay in the game somehow at that point. You know, if I can't be a player, I want to make sure that I stay in the game somehow.
And what about yourself? When was it for you that you knew coaching was the route?
Very, very similar to Chris, to be honest. I had a bit of an injury nightmare at Hull, and I started my coaching badges, and then I was fortunate to go back and work in the academy where I came through. And I had some really good mentors there, and guys that had brought me through the academy as a player. And actually, when I first went in, Craig's brother Gary was part of my first under-16 team. So yeah, I mean, it's quite ironic now, but yeah, I mean, I think coaching, there was something that I fell into, that I quickly fell in love with. So I've been very, very fortunate since sort of mid-20s now, the last sort of 25 years, to be involved in coaching.
Chris, for you, it was quite early on, obviously, going for roles in America and New Zealand, like some great pictures on there, some lovely ones there.
Got more hair or something.
You said it, not me. But for US and going across to New Zealand, like how was that inspirational for you in those early stages?
Yeah, I mean, that was a great life experience for me. It was, you know, I decided to study and try and get qualified as a coach and everything, because I knew that I'd have to get as many qualifications as I could, really. So that was what journey I was on. But there was a guy, Bobby Gould, and Jonathan, his son, that had offered me the chance to go out to New Zealand after I'd finished my studies for a couple of years, or initially for a year, and I went and did that, and it was great. I see the world, learn, you know, coaching different kids. So a lot of it was kids coaching at that point, young players, but great life experience, really enjoyed it, and then yeah, it set me up for the future.
Mike, for you, obviously, I used to sit in the Tilburn, sit behind you, absolutely loved you at this club, but when for you was it the decision to jump into coaching?
Well, I didn't become a pro until I was 24, so late starter, and I was just hell bent on continuing my career as a player as long as I possibly could. So that was where all my focus was. Lucky enough to play till I was nearly 42, so, and then it was just a natural progression then to go into coaching. So all I know, kind of really. So yeah, and we're here now. I was family settled in the area from when I moved here. And towards the end of my career, I had a year's contract at Leeds and then at Millwall a couple of years. But family settled here, so it was always kind of my dream to come back and work here in some capacity at some stage. And had a few conversations with Craig along the road. I was at Walsall for 3 years, and then the opportunity came to come and work with John Eustace and Craig. You know, had the phone call with Craig, and it was a no-brainer, really, and thankful to be here now.
Jonathan, what about for you? Because again, sat in the Tilton, watching you, sounds a bit creepy actually, I was a fan. But how for you was it to join the coaching staff and carry on at Blues?
Yeah, it was sort of coming towards the end, probably 30, 31, where coaches were actually speaking to me about what are you thinking about doing afterwards. And like a lot of the guys here, it's all you know really when you've been in football, you've had the career, the playing career, you haven't really focused on anything else other than football, so for an opportunity to stay in it within a coaching capacity is the next best thing really. So like I said, I started doing my coaching badges around 30, quickly sort of progressed through them as quickly as I could, and then when I finished, I was lucky enough my last couple of years at Exeter where I was getting involved in meetings and taking sort of little group sessions and things like that, just to sort of dip my foot in a little bit, and then was lucky enough probably 6 or 7 months after finishing to get a role in the academy that then progressed to the under-21s, and progressed into the first team for probably the last 6 months.
And Chris, for you, obviously, the next phase, you're still so young in relative terms for coaching in football, but you're working with Brendan Rodgers at Swansea City, and a real special time for that club. But what was that like, and what was that role there for you?
Yeah, so I was starting to do my A licence, and through my father being Welsh, I played for the Welsh sort of youth teams and everything. So I was doing my A licence with them, and I was looking for maybe an academy coaching job or something like that. And I thought it might be back at Reading or Chelsea or Watford or something like that. And then I actually Brendan Rodgers had got the Swansea job, and I just sent him a message. I hadn't spoken to him for 6 years, even though I'd obviously played for him for a few years before that. But how it came about was I just sent him, I was having breakfast one morning and sent him a message saying, I've seen you got the Swansea job, great club, good luck. And I said, if you need anything, let me know, because I'm available. And before I'd even put my phone down, Brendan had texted me back, we'll call you in 10 minutes. And wasn't expecting, he rang up and he said, look, there's only one job I can bring with me, and it's opposition analysis. But you can do your coaching badges, you can come out on the grass, but it's basically analysing your opposition. That's what I need to do. So I went to meet Brendan, went to Swansea, and it was excellent. Loved it. And my dad's from South Wales, so I knew a little bit about the area. But great club, and we went there. And we got promoted in that first season and to the Premier League. Had a chance to. Brendan had arranged for me to take the reserve team because he knew I wanted to be a manager and coach and everything. So I was then going to take the Swansea City reserve team when we're in the Premier League, but he got the Liverpool job, offered the Liverpool job, and asked if I'd like to go with him to Liverpool. So I did that. But Swansea was amazing because we obviously got promoted in the playoff final, and it was an exceptional time.
Ben, seeing Chris there, I think we can all see his passion across coming for the game as well, even back then. But for those sort of roles back then, getting into football, how vital it is for your education to further?
I think it's been great schooling. I mean, myself and Chris have worked across a numerous amount of roles, and I've worked a lot in the academy, set up with professional development phase, and even down to when I first started with the youngsters. I think it's a great grounding for you. I think if you can coach, under 9s, under 10s, you can coach anybody. If you can get them organised and playing football, you can coach anybody. And I think it gives you a great grounding, as I've already said. It allows you to express yourself as a coach, find out how you want to be as a coach, and sort of develop your own values. And I think we've both been very, very fortunate to have great mentors and great developmental pathways really to where we've got to now.
One of those mentors we speak about, I just wanted to touch on a little more, was Brendan Rodgers. Obviously, you mentioned about getting the text, coming straight into football. Just how instrumental for you was he in the early stages?
Yeah, he was, because when I played, I was the captain of his youth team, and he was different to the other coaches because he would sort of think about the game differently. He'd have empathy for the players. He would have a little bit more care, and you just noticed it straight away when you played. And obviously, the chance to work for him was something pretty special because I knew he'd be a top manager. I knew he'd be a good manager, and he has gone on and done well in his career. So for me, it wasn't just about working for any manager. It was working for a good one. And obviously he was we had great experiences at different clubs, and I had a really front row seat, which has prepared me for this job. A lot of people have spoken about the size of this club, and it is a big club, Birmingham. And for me, I was so lucky because I've been at big clubs, so I know how they work, I know the pressures, I know how everything is, and I've been so close to it for so many years. And it's allowed me to come into a club like this with full confidence and know what I need to do.
Mike, from a goalkeeper perspective, in terms of coaching, just how much has that evolved? Like I'm addicted to watching the England ones when they're doing all the different drills and exercises, but how sort of has that evolved from a player to a coach for you?
Obviously, the game's changed dramatically, and the way teams want to try and play has changed in terms of playing with the ball at their feet, and lots made about that. And I think it's really important that with the first line of attack, but we can't get away from with equally the last line of defence as well. So, and we've had numerous discussions with the gaffer, and essentially, you know, he wants an all-rounded goalkeeper, you know, and he's going to be judged on keeping the ball out of the net. But obviously, the way we want to play, the brand of football that we want to play, you know, it is ideal to have someone that is very comfortable with their feet, and that is kind of going forward right across the board, really, in all the divisions. And the younger goalies are coming through now, very capable, very confident with the ball at their feet, and yeah, I think we've got the best one at the moment. So we'll make that continue.
I think we'd all agree with that, wouldn't we? Jonathan, from your side of things, in terms of when you knew you were getting into coaching, was there specific coaches that you looked at and thought, I'm going to take a bit of that into what I'm going to do, or was it a bit different?
I think you do that as you're playing, to be honest. Like I said earlier, when I was finishing any sort of practices or drills or things like that that I enjoyed, felt like I could sort of manipulate into my own way, I would sort of make notes of it, jot it down, feel where things could improve, where things couldn't. So I think you just sort of pick that up along the way. So for the last sort of 4 or 5 years of my playing career, I tried to do that. And then getting the opportunity in the academy, like similar to what Ben said, you have that opportunity to make mistakes when you're working with younger players. And like you said, express yourself, find your own voice, really. I think that's one of the most important things. I think you need to get comfortable hearing your own voice when you're coaching as much. So that experience that I had there allows you to make mistakes and then hopefully grow and get better.
Chris, 2012, easy for me to say, moved to London, Brendan Rodgers. What was that like for you? Because I imagine it's almost like a vote of confidence to be taken with him and to move to such a massive club as well.
Yeah, so I went to Liverpool. Obviously, Kenny Dalglish was the manager before, you know, icon, King Kenny, and it was obviously a big job for Brendan to take. Brendan was 39 at the time, so it was a big step. And it was everyone knows what Liverpool's like. It's just a wonderful club. And they'd finished 8th, we finished 7th, and then it was the following season that we went for the title, we finished 2nd. For me, it was the biggest thing for me was I had to earn the respect of world-class players. You know, I had to, because all these clubs, I would sometimes join in the training, or I would be out there helping with the training, as well as trying to, you know, prepare the tactical plans for the game with Brendan. So I was really close to it, and at Liverpool was my first experience of working with genuinely world-class players. We had Gerrard and Suarez, and Coutinho at that point was really good. Henderson was coming through, and I got to see what they were really like day to day, and it was very good because they were everything that I hoped they would be. They were very professional, very focused, you know, did everything right in their life, very, very driven, competitive, and for me it was a joy because I thought this is what I want. I want to work with these type of players. So and Liverpool was great for that, and I learned a lot. But that whole analysis role that I did, as much as I didn't want to do it at times, it was what it gave me was confidence, because I learned the game basically, you know, because I think I knew football on a sort of a general level, and I knew how to coach and organise players, but I probably didn't have a feeling that I really understood the game intricately. But when I did that role, when we got to the Premier League, every game I was studying some of the best managers in the world, how they were coaching, how they were setting their teams up, what they were trying to do to beat the opposition, and I was doing that every single game. And we got to, we were in the Champions League and Europe, and it was for me, it gave me a huge amount of confidence. So when I sat with a Henderson or Gerrard and spoke to them about the game, I felt full of confidence that I knew what I was talking about, you know. And that's why that role and those years, those sort of formative years, were huge for me, for my own development. But at the club, we went very close to winning the league, but we weren't defensively good enough, and we lost it out right at the very end. But yeah, everyone knows Liverpool, top club.
Is it daunting a little bit when taking on that role relatively new in your career, because you are dealing with these world-class players, but I imagine the detail and the level of analysis at that time was still quite something new. So are they just looking for that extra 1% to take that on board? Yeah, they are. I think the best, like anything, the best players, and what was refreshing about it was the better the player that I worked with, the more open-minded they were. You know, so I've worked with worse players who were closed off, they didn't want feedback, they didn't want to
they did want to get better, but maybe through their insecurity they didn't want to open up, you know, whereas these players were, like I say, you know, Stephen Gerrard was the England and Liverpool captain at the time, but I used to sit with him and go through games and analysis, and, you know, he was trying to help him basically, and Jordan Henderson was kind of his protege coming through, and did a lot of work with Jordan as well. And it was basically, for me, it was like like-minded, you know, they were just so driven, they wanted to be successful and they wanted to improve. And thankfully, you know, they gave me the respect that I needed to make an impact.
Ben, for you, you've obviously worked up and down the football pyramid. How does analysis sort of infiltrate the clubs from all the way down to the bottom, all the way up to the top level?
I think it's a massive tool now. You know, to be able to watch your games back, and the analysis that we get here at this club, we've got two fantastic young analysts, and they work so hard for us, and everything now is analysed, set plays, individual performance, unit analysis. Obviously you look at the team, but we can dissect everything. You can take it to another level, and it has taken the game to another level for sure. But I think as coaches we've had to embrace that as well. And I think it helps you, because it helps you design your sessions, helps you improve the team, you know, on and off the pitch. So I think it's a big part of the game, and it's not going to go away. It's only going to get bigger and better. And I think we're very, like I said, we're very fortunate at this club to have two fantastic young analysts working with the first team, and I think obviously Chris is helping them too as well, as being in that role. You know, he's mentoring them as well without probably knowing it.
Mike, for you, what's the evolution in terms of goalkeeping from a playing perspective, maybe to the feedback that you get then to going out there and now as a coach?
I think sometimes you have a perspective of what's going on in the game when you're in the hot seat, but it's not always what is happening and going on. So to be able to pull you know, clips from various different angles on a specific thing that's gone on makes it much clearer and far easier to kind of make that individual understand, you know, what is going on, what we could do better, what we could do better to help the team. And it might just be a bit of communication, pulling someone in, or it might be a technical issue that we can then go and take on the training field and work on. So it's a massive advantage to use it, and it would be something going forward, and the data and everything else as well, and it's used right across the board now, from recruitment right the way through, and it's something that's going to grow and grow and grow as we go on.
Jonathan, was Harry Redknapp a big data man?
I wouldn't say so, no.
A bit different in his management. Bit different in his style.
Yeah, I think one of his favourite phrases was "just play," and I'm guessing coming from, similar to what the gaffer says, working with world-class players, that's fairly easy to say to them, just play. You tell Luka Modric to just play, he's going to just go play. We need a little bit more of direction, a little bit more coaching, and we didn't get that very much.
Checking Doyle can play, but that's debatable. I moved to Celtic with Brendan, Chris. Obviously, if you didn't know you liked him by taking you to Liverpool, you must know you love him when he took you to Celtic. I mean, again, a huge club, and another step up in role as well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, just after I'd left Liverpool, I went back to Reading for a few months, and one of my other coaches, Brian McDermott, had made me his assistant for 6 months, and then Brendan got this Celtic job and asked me if I wanted to be the assistant manager, and it was good because you know, Celtic's obviously a massive club, but for me to be the assistant manager, more responsibility. By this stage, Brendan's not coaching all the sessions, so he wanted me to coach a lot of it. And yeah, anyone that's been to Glasgow, anyone that knows what it's like up there, it's you have to see it to believe it. Really, it's so intense and a wonderful experience.
What is that like? Because obviously, I imagine Liverpool's daunting, but you've got a bit more experience in your locker within this different role. What's it like taking that first day into the club?
Yeah, I think with Celtic, it's, you know, it's religious, it's political, cultural. That west of Scotland that Rangers rivalry is so deeply rooted that everything just goes around that. If you go to a game in Scotland and you've got, say, you go to Kilmarnock as an example, 3 sides of that stadium will be Celtic fans, you know, or there might be one side that's the home fans, you know. So And that's the level that you've got with the old firm. You're not supposed to call it the old firm when you're at Celtic, because they think that's gone now. But yeah, intense place to work, a massive club. But what was good about it, and what was helpful for me at Birmingham this season, was at Celtic you have to win every game. And in Birmingham this season, and we want to create this environment and this expectation that we have to win every game. We want to win every game. But what I learned at Celtic was that it's all about how you prepare. We went 69 games unbeaten. We went invincible, treble. And what we did was every game, whether it was Ross County or we played teams like Barcelona in the Champions League and all that, we prepared exactly the same. And that is, I think, what the players noticed. The difference when we were there was that we treated every game the same. So the same preparation, the same focus, the same opposition analysis, the same training, the same mindset, the same compare every single game. And that's what I've tried to do here, is that, you know, people say, oh, you're playing Stevenage or whatever. It's never easy. Football's never easy, so you have to respect the opposition and plan every game and treat every team the same. And that's what I learned from Celtic, and that's what's helped me in this job.
Ben, for you, what's been your biggest learning, and also probably a question to all of you as well? Football's a very sort of fickle business at the best of times, so how is it being a coach trying to improve up on that ladder when, you know, you don't know from one season to the next where you might be?
I think that's the crux of, obviously previous to this, I've worked in sort of what you would call development stroke competitive football, where you're developing players for the first team rather than, you know, putting results on the table. But it was always my aim to put my head above and go for that, in terms of I want to be at the competitive level, I want to be at the first team level. And this season's been a wonderful experience so far. I think, you know, you've seen the growth of the team, you know, the way the manager prepares the players. You know, obviously where the backroom staff works together with the manager to prepare the players for a Saturday and then a Tuesday and then a Saturday and then a Tuesday. It's been unbelievable. And I think the biggest learning for me has been about the schedule, preparing, you know, to play the unbelievable schedule. It's not one game a week, it's not Saturday. So it's about regrouping, you know, day in after a game, recovery, training again, keeping the players on the level, keeping them really hungry. And I think it's been, you know, it's a steep learning curve, but I think one that we've really grasped with both hands so far, and we're getting stronger.
Chris, back to you. Obviously, with Brendan, you then go to Leicester. What's that like? Because, you know, it's a fantastic Leicester side, 2 fifth-place finishes, an FA Cup for a team that's been craving one all their life. Yeah, what was that like, and what were some of the key learnings?
Yeah, Leicester was good. I think the way to explain that was, you know, not many managers you would think leave a Celtic to go to a Leicester, but 20 years before that, Martin O'Neill had gone the other way. He was at Leicester and he'd gone to Celtic, because that was a big step up at that point. Even though Martin O'Neill had done well at Leicester in the Premier League, but fast forward 20 years, things have changed a lot, and now our chance to come back down to the Premier League was more attractive. So Leicester was the one that, for me, I was pleased, because I didn't want my kids to get a Scottish accent, so I wanted to get out there. I wanted to get out there as quick as I could. So we came back here, and yeah, Leicester was good. I mean, they're obviously very ambitious owners at the time, and they'd won the league a few years before that, and yeah, it was one of those with them. They were counter-attack, Vardy pace and everything, and we changed it to having more possession, so they had to learn how to coach that with a team that had a lot of success just defending, breaking away. So learning how to sort of convince the players, you know, that there's also another way we can play that can be successful, was probably the big learning there. And then we went on, we won the FA Cup, and we missed out on the Champions League twice, which was crucial really, because I think if they'd got over the line, then they'd have gone on as a club. But no, it was a good experience, absolutely, for me, being back down in England. But within that time, I was more than ready to go off and be a manager soon after I got there, really.
And just to sort of wrap up, before we get into everything Birmingham City, then on to Spurs, working with Ange. What was that like? And obviously, you see everything that's going on this season. Like, as a manager now, do you like look at the perspective of him a bit differently with the role that you've got as well now?
Yeah, I think you have empathy for other managers. I think anyone does. You look at what football managers go through. Obviously, being a football manager myself now, I can empathise that a little bit more with, thankfully I haven't lost many games, but it does hurt when you do lose a game, and what they're going through at Spurs this season isn't easy. But Ange is a great man. I think I never met Ange before, and I got off, basically I was Swansea manager or Tottenham assistant manager. And I decided to go to Spurs because it was so important. I've been with Brendan for a long time, and to learn from someone different was critical, and Ange is very different to Brendan, very different personality, different style of management, and it was great learning for me. And again, another big club, but Ange gave me even more responsibility, taking the training and everything. I was leading day to day, and Ange is a really inspirational man in the way he talks to the players, and he was brilliant at setting a really exciting vision for the players. When we first went there, they'd had Conte, and then when Ange came in, it was, we're going to do this, and it was brilliant. We started really well. They've obviously, this season, they've had problems with injuries and stuff, but another great experience. We had Harry Kane for the first period. Again, talk about players, and Harry was on the verge of going to Bayern Munich, and every single training session that I was coaching, you'd be trying to talk about what you're going to do next in the coaching session, and Harry would be the first player standing in front, standing up straight, hands behind his back, listening like a 8-year-old boy that's just eager to play football, so enthusiastic. And this was a player that was on the verge of leaving the club, and obviously again an iconic player at the time. So good to see and work again with those level of players, World Cup winners and Romero and people like that. So I was really pleased to be back at that level again with those type of players. But yeah, for me, good experience. And again, halfway through that season, I had the Swansea job coming again, and there was things that were building, but I just didn't feel right with that. I just didn't think it was right. I wasn't convinced with some of these clubs that they were actually really going to do something, So I'd stayed at Spurs, and then it was right at the very end of the season that the Birmingham thing came up, and it was a completely different feeling.
Right, well, let's go to that, because it's the summer of 2024. It feels like a lifetime ago now, I bet, but it's not even been 12 months. I think you were on holiday. What was the sort of approach? Who reached out, and who was your first point of contact?
Yeah, so obviously it was agent, involved, and Birmingham's possibility and everything, and obviously, no one really knew who I was apart from probably people within the game. So, but I wasn't thinking about League One like most people in that position, and I was thinking. But then, as soon as it was Birmingham, straight away in my head, I instantly was like, no, that's what I want. So I said to him, and I'd ended up speaking to Craig. And it's just one of those things. It's like you just get the feeling straight away. I spoke to Craig. He spoke about the vision, where the club's going, what it's doing, even little anecdotes about what the owners are investing in the stadium, the training ground, little things like that. And everyone in football, within the game, I'd heard about the owners. I'd heard about them about a year before that. A few people had said to me that Birmingham is a club that they're getting owners that are going to be serious owners. And I'd heard about that, and then when it came up and I spoke to Craig a little bit more about it, I thought this could be really exciting. And then when I spoke to Craig, but went on holiday the very next day, and I was in the Maldives. My wife was fuming with me because every day I had about 25 Zoom calls. Every day at 6 o'clock when we wanted to go out for dinner was the only time we could do a Zoom call. So I've been in trouble for that ever since. But yeah, I had the meetings with Craig, with the owners, and everything started to progress from there. And it was straight away I knew. And I think my wife was kind of, because I had a few options before. And it was always like, you're not going to take that, you're just going to, she kind of knew that I didn't want to do it, but this one, it was different. This one, I just thought, this is a club, whether I go here or not, this club is going somewhere, and I wanted to make sure I was the one that did it.
I'm very glad you came here. Ben, what about yourself? Were you in the Maldives, or was it a trip to Centre Parks? What about yourself?
Can't really follow that, can I? I won't tell you where I was. I'd spoke to Chris, kept in contact, obviously, when we parted ways when Chris left Leicester, and I was still at Leicester at the time, and Chris rang me and said would I be interested in obviously the project of Birmingham City, and I'd spoken to Chris before about when he'd been offered the Swansea job, and he'd spoken to me about that previously, and I was obviously delighted when he came back in for me, and yeah, it's been a fabulous move for myself, and thoroughly enjoying it, and you know, long may it continue. I mean, it didn't take me very long. I'm a Birmingham lad, and I've been commuting to Leicester for the last 10 years, and obviously I thought it was Wastills when we first got the job, which is about 5 minutes from my house, but it's about 15 now to Henley, so it's not too bad. But no, fabulous facilities, brilliant club. I think, you know, you only have to see it on a match day when we walk out with the fireworks and the full stadium, that it's the place to be at this moment in time. And yeah, I'm obviously very thankful that Chris picked the phone up to me.
Mike, for you, I was speaking at another event we did the other week, but you've obviously been at the club as a player through some good times and bad times, but from a coaching perspective as well, obviously there was a big turnover in managers last year for one reason or another. Just talk to me a bit through that from your perspective, but then also the stability and everything that's come from this season.
Well, as everyone knows, it's very much results driven. You know, in the first team environment, it's the only environment that I've been coaching, and that comes with all the pressures that it comes with. And you know, if a manager, if the club makes a decision to part ways with a manager, obviously we worry about our positions. But you know, still managed to hang on, and I'm really thankful that you know we're here now. We've got owners that are so ambitious to get this club back to where we all want to be, and I'm thankful to be part of that. And things are going well at the moment. So you know, 10 big, huge games to go, and a cup final to look forward to, and hopefully the good form continues, and we can get over the line and be successful again next year.
And for you, Jonathan, similar as a player, obviously good and bad times for when you were here as well, but from a coaching perspective, for that sort of first main role, is it sort of extra exciting to be part of this project because you've seen how big this club can be?
Yeah, and that's not just with the way the owners are going. I think listening more and more to the manager's sort of story just resonates with me so much that he had that opportunity to go work with somebody who'd worked at the very top. I had a decent playing career but never made it to the top where he's worked there, and for me to be given that opportunity to be able to learn from somebody what the top looks like, how it looks day to day, how you prepare the players, like you said before, how you prepare the same for every single game, it's gold dust for myself. Looking forward into the future, I don't know sort of whether I want to manage myself, whether that comes later on, but at the minute, loving the opportunity. The owners seem to be really, really confident about the way that this club's gone. So yeah, massively happy to be a part of it.
Chris, for you, there's obviously so much emphasis on two words: the project. It gets me excited, it gets me out of bed every morning. But what is, in terms of the specific nature of what you were speaking about in those conversations, is there one or two things that you were like, right, that's what I'm pinning everything on a little bit?
No, I think it was, obviously when I spoke to Craig, Craig's been, the good thing is Craig in the role that he's in has been a top player, you know, and he understands the game really well. So I knew I was going to work with someone in Craig's role that understood the game, and Craig was brilliant for me in terms of when I got in, helping me get the players in, you know, getting the right characters in, making it happen. When I spoke to Tom Wagner and Tom Brady, as well as, you know, Andrew Shanahan, the other ownership, main one was obviously Tom Wagner I spoke to, and he was just so ambitious, you know, so driven. But they're not just saying these things. There's a lot of people in football that say all the right things. They've got all these big plans. They're all over the place. Owners, especially in English football, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But when you've been relegated to League One and you're investing money in the training centre and you're investing money into the training ground, that's actually actions. I say to the players all the time, it's not about words, it's about actions. You can say what you want, people will judge you on what you do. And with the owners, the reason that they sing his name when he comes, and the way that this club is going is because the proof is there. Yes, there's been suffering in the sense of relegation, but people can see the commitment, you know, the sports quarter. And for me, I just thought this club, this is going somewhere. But with these people, I was just convinced that, you know, they not only have a vision, but they have a commitment that they're actually going to do it, and they're actually going to back the club. And if, you know, for a Birmingham City fan to have owners like that, there's 92 professional teams in this country. They're one of the best, without doubt. And to have owners like that at a club like this, it's exciting. I say to the players all the time, this is a sleeping giant. This is a sleeping giant, and we're going to be the ones that are going to wake it up. So be excited by that, because we've got a great future.
I was about ready to ring the car park then. I'm ready to do something. I don't know what. Ben, from your perspective, I imagine at the start when Chris is ringing, you're sort of hearing all this from his perspective and hearing about this amazing project. I mean, we go back to the summer. I was happy enough with re-signing the Duke. That was all I needed. That was perfect for me. But from you then seeing that summer transfer window, just how is it? Just sort of seeing those actions come in and actually seeing those players arrive.
Yeah, very thankful, because obviously on the first day of pre-season, I think we had only 9 or 10 senior players, and you know, we did most of the first 2 or 3 weeks with supplemented by the youngsters. And that first game at Paderborn, that was an experience for us all. So no, and I think the recruitment department, they deserve massive credit. Obviously, Craig and the gaffer spoke to all the players, but to bring in 17 players in pre-season and for them all to be of the character and quality that they were, and then we brought another 3 in January. That's a whole team en masse. And I think you probably all agree with me in saying that they've settled into the club and the way the manager wants to play absolutely superbly well. And you know, they love playing for the club. You can see that week in, week out. And I think the recruitment's been absolutely outstanding.
Mike, from a goalie perspective, we speak about the recruitment, and that's probably the area where it sort of shines the most, obviously with Peacock Farrell and Ryan Allsop sort of battling out for that number 1 position. What are they like to work with as a group, and sort of some of the standout points, especially with Ryan? I mean, we see the highlights put out by the lads from the distribution each week. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, we're very fortunate to have essentially 2 number 1s, especially at this level at the football club, and that was vitally important and something that the manager stressed upon. You know, we didn't want to carry only one, and then with a considerably weaker one, we wanted to competing for the jersey. And Bailey had the opportunity at the start of the season. Obviously, didn't get off to the best of starts, but he's a fantastic goalie, no question. Ryan's now got his opportunity and has really taken to it, and obviously the way he plays and the strengths that he has really suits the way we want to play, especially at this level. But he's got the jersey now, but Bailey's responded extremely well, training really hard and putting Ryan under extreme pressure, so he knows he needs to perform every week, and so far so good, and hopefully that'll continue.
Jonathan, just one I wanted to talk on in terms of your position. Alex Cochrane, I think he's played nearly every minute of this season. Coming in as a new signing, what's he like to work with, and a position you know well?
He's been absolutely fantastic, I think. Consistency, quality, no fuss, works hard. Birmingham City player. I think I don't think you can say much else about him. I think probably player for player, he's definitely been right up there.
One big thing I think that we can all agree sort of back in the football club is a real connection, whether that's as a fans, from the players, from you guys up here, but what's the connection like from you to the ownership? You hear, I imagine, a great story about it coming here, and it's all been backed up, but what's the influence like on a daily basis with Tom and the team?
Yeah, very good. I think within any organisation, any business, the communication is very important, and obviously to the ownership is very important, and all the ownership are very involved and very committed to what we're doing. So Tom Wagner, as an example, is someone I'm in contact with regularly, and about how we're doing, where we're going, how I think the team's progressing. Tom's got his own views, he's very supportive, but you know, very, very ambitious. There's an exciting feeling around, you know, and Tom's excellent with all his experience and success that he brings. And then Tom Brady I speak to regularly as well, and Tom's been good because I think to myself sometimes the conversations I have with Tom Brady are a lot about elite sports, you know, mentality, and you know, one of the greatest sportsmen of all time. And genuinely, I could text Tom any second of the day and he'll be immediately back, and he'll send me videos and articles, and just really enthusiastic about what we're doing. And it's like, for me, it's having almost a world-class consultant almost at any point I want. You know, imagine any other sporting organisation trying to get Tom Brady in the building to speak to a coach or a player, you wouldn't be able to. But I can speak to him whenever I want, and that he understands sport. He knows, obviously wasn't a professional football player, as we call it, but he understands what elite level sport is, what it's like, and he's got the same type of mentality. I spoke about being up for every game, being up for every day matters, you know, every game matters. That's why he was so successful, because he was basically relentless in his own determination to be his best every day, played till he was 40 years old or whatever it was. So he's been great. So they're all very supportive. There's exciting plans around what they're doing, but I couldn't ask for a lot more. They don't overbear and you need to do this, you need to do that, which you don't want. They're just really supportive around the direction that they're taking the club, and you can sort of tell, being English and that they're Americans, but they're falling in love with the club. You know, they see what it means, and that's why, like I said, if you're a Birmingham City fan, this is a wonderful, exciting time.
As well, like, speak about culture and connection, and I don't think that's really shown really by the fans. I've been in a Tilton, maybe a few too many Guinness sometimes, but in terms of the way that the players connect and you do with the players, how influential has that been on performance?
Yes, for me it's everything. We've got to be together, basically. And I always said to the players that every player that we brought in, I only brought in players that were going to work hard. Because I say to the players that we serve the club. Doesn't matter who you are, who you think you are, we serve the club. That's what we do. The football club will be here long after we're gone, so you've got to come in and work hard for the team, and we do that, and that's, I think, the fans can recognise. Yes, we're winning games of football, but what they see is that the players, every game, they give everything, they work hard, and that's the one way to ingratiate your way to a support base, is by giving everything. You know, if you're a striker, you run and block a clearance, you'll get a big cheer from the fans. You don't have to always score goals, because they'll see that you care. So for me, connecting with the fans is very important, you know, and making sure that we're together. That's why after games people say about you celebrate. For me, this club has suffered enough. So every single game that we win, when I'm here, we'll celebrate, because you should celebrate when you win. The club's been through enough suffering and losing games and everything else, and there'll be ups and downs. It's important to celebrate when you win, and I'm going to make sure every time that we do it, and we do it with the fans, because for us, this fans in this room, this is a big part of their life, and for me, making the fans proud of their team, even for one night, even to win a game on a Tuesday night against anybody, that makes them proud. Going home makes everybody proud of their team, and that's the only reason that we do it.
Well, let's pick up on some of those specific nights. Ben, Wrexham, you're new into the club. I mean, there's a lot going on around that night. David Beckham's here, everyone's here. What was that night like for you as a coach, to experience the St Andrews atmosphere and sort of a path that we're going on as well?
The problem I had that night was my wife was just desperate to see David Beckham. It was a phenomenal night. The first few minutes weren't great. The game obviously didn't start as we wanted it to start, with Wrexham taking an early lead, but I think we quickly established that night that we meant business, and I think we knew that we'd signed a group of players that were going to go the distance for us. The way they responded, the character that they showed. The manager always asked them to be calm, to remain calm, and the way we pressed, the intensity that we got to, the goals that we scored. I think it was, you know, people have said it's probably it was one of the best games they've seen in League One, best performances they've seen in League One. But I'll just go back to what you were talking about previously. Is I think the way the manager asks the players to press. I think that, don't get me wrong, the possession football is fantastic, but the bit of the game that really satisfies us as coaches, and I know it does the managers when he sees the team work so hard and and press so hard, and you know, Alfie, whoever's up front, Jay, Juki, Lyndon, we start with them pressing from the front, and it transmits through the team, and you can see that the energy that comes from the rest of the team is absolutely brilliant. But that Wrexham game was something else, yeah.
I thought you were going to say it was when Bielik was giving it to James McLean, but that's probably a different coaching strategy. Mike, for you, let's go to the Newcastle one. I was in Tilton Corner. I think for everyone, that 15 minutes before the game kicked off, when the lights were out, for me it was like a biblical experience. It was absolutely unbelievable. What for you? You've seen some great nights down here, but for you, was that one of the best?
Yeah, an incredible night. Obviously, the result went against us, but no one gave us a chance before the game. But I think it was a great, you know, the atmosphere was just electric, like we remember from the Premier days. It probably surpassed all them days, but it was an incredible night, incredible performance, very, very close to coming away with the result that we wanted. Can't really say anything more, but for, you know, each to a man, they were all magnificent. But just kind of going on from what's already been said, like a true, it's been said before, a true reflection of the squad that's been put together by, obviously, you know, the recruitment department, Craig and the gaffer. You know, is you know, we have to do a full session with the non-starters. You know, gaffer picks his team. We have to do a full session with the non-starters, with all their frustration and disappointment at not being in the team. You know, I mean, if we think back from last year to this year, it's chalk and cheese. You know, the characters of these boys, they really leave it all out on the line, and that session with the non-starters is incredible, and it's a testament to them. And then that gives the gaffer good opportunity to, when he decides to make the changes that he makes, they either see the game out for us or they come on and help win the game. But that's down to their professionalism and the way they are and the way they care about this football club.
Well, I think that's all wrapped up, Jonathan, in the Bradford performance, because I think it was probably put across to the players the importance of us getting to Wembley and what that means, and then you speak about the squad being used and Lyndon scoring that header. What for you was that night like, and again, how important is this squad and these fans?
Yeah, the fans are really, really important. I think it's probably took them a little while because it's a completely different style that they've seen for a long, long time. But within that, they've been patient to it, but they know within the DNA of this football club there's hard work. And you get that with every single member of this squad. Again, that's down to the recruitment team, to the manager, the characters that they've brought in, that they know every single day when they're training they have to be ready. Competition is one of the biggest drivers within that. I think if they know if they're not ready one day, somebody else is ready there straight away to take their position. And within that game, you've got lads who haven't played as much as they probably want to in the league, and they've affected that game by working hard, being consistent, and keeping themselves ready.
Chris, what does it mean for you to, like, I mean, I've probably had literally some of the best days of my life this season, and I'm sure you have in the room as well. Like, what does it mean for you personally to be putting on those performances for us as fans?
Yeah, I mean, it does. It means the world. I mean, obviously, like I said, I always think that people come up to me and say thank you, but Birmingham fans. But I always think I should be saying thank you to you, because the way the club or the fans embraced me when I came, someone who, unless you're within the game, not many people knew who I was, but straight away I felt at home. Straight away I felt that the fans wanted to give me a chance. They wanted it to work, and I've appreciated that, and will be forever grateful for that. And I think that's gave me the confidence to go on. And everything we're talking about tonight is with a huge caveat that we actually haven't done anything yet. You know, so we're talking as if we've achieved something when we actually haven't. And that's my job, is to keep everyone focused, because we've got 10 games that will be difficult to go to finish off this season, and obviously we've got to try and win a cup final as well. So no, from my point of view, we've had a season that is hard to forget. I think forget what league you're in. We've had nights where we've put on some great performances, like you say, getting to Wembley. It doesn't matter. When we played Bradford and walking around this stadium after the game, I'd never seen the stadium like it, and after that night, I thought to myself, if I and we can get this club back to where it wants to be, it'll be incredible. Because, like I say, I've been at some big clubs and they're big animals, they're big monsters when they get going, and I could see in this stadium the reception to get into Wembley, and the place was bouncing. It was absolutely bouncing, and you know, it just gives you the hunger. You want to give more of that back to the fans. So we've had some special nights, like the Newcastle night. The Wrexham night was a worldwide stage, you know, and it gave us a chance to showcase what we're doing. And when we were 1-0 down against Wrexham, if anyone was calmer than me inside the stadium, I'd have been surprised, because I felt, as soon as they scored, I thought, they scored too early. They've scored their goal too early. We'll beat them. I knew that we'd beat them that night. But obviously a team we respect a lot and are still fighting with in this league. So you have to be humble. That's what I say to the players. There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and I always say to them, you never go on the wrong side of that line, because it's a slippery slope when you get arrogant. And in football, you should never get arrogant. So we've got a long way to go this season, but we've had some nights this season that I'll never forget, and hopefully the fans won't either.
Just in terms of Wembley specifically, obviously winning it is so important, but what will it mean to sort of walk out on that stage in terms of everyone watching on TV around the world? But I think, what, 50, 60,000 we got going? 90,000, 100,000 going to Wembley, taking over Wembley. What will it mean to take over the whole stadium?
Well, it will. It'll be amazing. We all know Wembley, what Wembley Stadium is. We all know the history of the club. I think it's the 7th time in the history that we've been there. And we're going again, and like I say, everyone's so excited about it. You want to go to a final and win it. You don't want to go and lose it. So we've got to make sure that we're, as professionals, focused on the game. But it will mean the world to walk out. I've never worn a suit for a game, but I'm going to wear a suit for this game, so hopefully that goes well. But I showed the players, the very first game we played in that competition, I showed the players an image of the team that won it 30 years ago and tried to paint a picture for them. This is what we could achieve. I showed them pictures of Wembley Stadium, and I showed them videos, and all along I was trying to make sure that they understood that at the end of this, what might seem like a competition that you don't know a lot about, you get a chance to play at Wembley for a massive club. Now imagine what that would be like. And as soon as we got to that Bradford game, then they realised, you could see how sort of tense it was in the stadium at times, that they realised what an opportunity. So to go there with this club, forget the competition we're in, it's a wonderful opportunity for us to win a trophy, and I can't wait.
Ben, in terms of the pressure that's maybe put on just by me on this stage, but in terms of everyone in the fan base, is that sort of a privilege to be in that position, going out into the remaining 10 fixtures, the final?
It's absolutely where we want to be. That's why we came to the club. We wanted to get it going again. We need to get back in the Championship as soon as possible, and then because the club have got big plans. So, you know, we're not surprised by the pressures from the fans, and I think they've been phenomenal this season. Not just the home fans, but the away support. You know, Tuesday night for the Virtue Trophy down in Exeter, and we filled the away end. There's not many clubs that are doing that. So we've established pretty early on that we're going to get massive support, and I think the players have really shown up for the fans, and the fans have really got behind them, and they're enjoying watching the team play.
Chris, we speak about everything the club's doing, and I think that's really reflected in the women's team. I know you've been attending games down there and aiming the team top of the league. Just how crucial is that to everyone be on song and go on this journey together?
Well, it is. I know they're having a great season. The game I went to, I think they lost. I wasn't a great omen for that game, but they've been doing great. I know how hard they work and everything they've been trying to do, and to have them top of the league as well is really exciting. As I said, it's a club that everybody's talking about Birmingham. Everybody's talking about Birmingham now, whether that's the men's team or the women's team. because it's a club that's going somewhere. It's an exciting time, so I wish them the absolute very best. Hopefully we can both finish the season strongly on both fronts.
Mike, I wanted to maybe touch a little bit on sort of your previous stuff at the club, because as fans we know, as Blues, nothing's done till it's done, so we are so close, but is it sort of just having that clear perspective to each game come as it come?
Absolutely, yeah. People keep getting carried away and talking about Wembley, but
Sorry about that.
that's okay. But no, the manager instills it amongst the players and all the staff that the next game is the most important game, and that really is the case. We've got 4 huge games before we can even think about Wembley. So we need to. The priority is to get out of this division, and the quicker we can do that, the better. But there's no easy games. It's a relentless division. We've come a long way. We're in a fantastic position, but nothing's done yet. So our full focus is on Shrewsbury at home in the next game, and that's as far as we're looking, and that'll continue right to the end of the season.
Love that. I think we've got a question from in the room from our amazing sponsors today, Waterman Environmental Services.
Oh, good evening. Chris, just before I ask my question, first time I met you, some 3 or 4 hours ago, and I was saying 61 years of actually coming to watch games down at Birmingham City. You are the most charismatic, professional, sincere, individual manager I have ever met down here. I was going to say before the round of applause, we are proud to have you here, and long may it continue, because you have brought to us what we have desperately needed for years upon years. So thank you for that. Now for my question. Your first senior managerial position, looking incredibly likely that we'll get promoted. Incredibly possible that we could get a cup final thing. Do you feel that we will... Sorry, question's gone. Sorry about that. With all the success that we've had so far, do you feel that this season has exceeded your expectations from when we started?
I would say it has. If someone had said to me the day that I came, this is where you'll be today on the 20th of March, I would have bitten your hand off for it and for everything that's happened so far. I won't rest or be relaxed until we get out of this league and we get promoted. That day I will celebrate and enjoy if and when it comes, but I'm not sort of relaxed yet. But yeah, I couldn't have wished for any more. For me, being a manager for the first time at a club, you've got to try and pick the right owners, the right club and everything, and it's been incredible. It's been an amazing experience. It's a club that, like I say, I feel grateful to for giving me the opportunity, and I'm going to make sure that I repay the club and I get them to where they want to get to.
We've got another question from one of our great sponsors as well, AMG down here.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks. Great season. We all gutted last season when we go down, but it's really entertaining season. Question I've got is, on the current team, how do you think we would have done if we were in the Championship? I mean, I know we're not in the Championship, but we're buying for the Championship, so...
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell, but I think we've got a better squad now this season than they had last season. So there's a start. So I think we'd be more competitive than that they were last season. Ability and character of the players. So I think we'd be competitive with the squad we have now. Some players it'll be interesting to see how they can grow at that next level and cope. But we'd absolutely be competitive. I think we put together a stronger squad than we had last season, basically, is the short answer there. And I think we'll be competitive. I think we know, and conversations that I have with Craig, and we think about today and this league, but you always have to plan for different scenarios, and if we did get an opportunity to get to that next level, what could it look like, what do we think we need? And we know you need to go again, of course you do, because you're up a level. I think the team we have at the moment would be competitive, I would say.
So I'll run the numbers on Football Manager and we actually get promoted, so Chris, with you, how do you switch off? I imagine nights like these make it really easy to do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, switch off. I don't switch off too much, but it's just with my children, with my family, that's it. Yesterday I took my daughter for a bike ride. We live in the sort of countryside. She went out on her bike, I was walking after her as she rode her bike. For me, that's it. That's the things like that is where I can sort of relax a little bit. But with me, the only reason I'm here is because of the work I put in. So I do always think when I go home, there's another game to watch, there's something else I can be doing. I'm lucky I've got a family that help me do it, but any extra time I get is with a family, and trying to be there for them. Because obviously that's the most important thing, even though my wife tells me sometimes I don't act like it, but that is the most important thing, my family and the kids, obviously. So just time with them. You don't have time for any mates when you're a football manager. You're pretty much work, home, family, back to work again. So that's what I'm.
Jonathan, what about for you? Is it different now, like obviously just coming freshly out of the game? Are your off seasons different from when you were a player now to a coach?
Not particularly, no. Obviously living away from home now, I'm pretty similar. Family time, a lot of my friends are still back up in Middlesbrough. But I can imagine this off-season, we've got a pretty good paddle partnership, me and Mike going.
So, really? Who's the best? Are you the best?
Mike. Yeah. So,
I was going to say it's a team partnership.
Yeah, there'll be a few games of that sort of going on to the summer, but other than that, just spending time with family, really.
We've got another question from our sponsors, Waterman Environmental Services.
See if you can get this one right. Championship, obviously, is a much different league from the First Division. Do you think, with correct backing, that we have got a realistic promotion chance, like Ipswich, or is it going to take a longer time?
Well, I think a lot of that will be clearer if and when we get there, and what the squad looks like by the start of next season, if we can do it. I think it's possible, absolutely, and I think for us it has to be our ambition. If we can get back there, can we go and challenge and be competitive? The main thing for me is that we're growing and improving. This club's getting to the Premier League with these owners. This club's getting to the Premier League. Whether it's me or someone else, they're getting there. There's no doubt about it. So I can pretty much guarantee that. Now what we need to make sure is that we don't have, if we can get to that next level, we don't have a repeat of what's been happening in previous seasons where it's been hanging on and it's been doom and gloom. We can't have that again. But you have to grow at the level as well. So the answer to your question is anything's possible. You see teams that can get up and go again with momentum. We will have momentum next season if we can get up, there's no doubt about it. We will have that feel-good factor. The club feels like it's in a good place, so we're going to have that on our side, but you know what it's like, the Premier League teams coming down, some strong big clubs in that level. It's not easy, but we might have to grow and get towards it, but there's no doubt in my mind that this club will be in the Premier League in the near future, shall I say.
We've got another question from AMG.
This is, it depends how much you know of previous players, but if you had a choice of any previous Blues players besides Craig, who would you want in your team now?
That's easy, Jude Bellingham's, I think. So an easy answer. It's probably an easy answer, bit of a cop out, but yeah, I think, well, obviously he would be the standout player, I would say. Obviously the era of Dugarry and players like that, world-class players that came, obviously they were top players, you know. Trevor Francis could probably get in my team as well. So yeah, there's a few. Craig be on the bench, he'd get on the bench. No, Craig would be there.
Really surprised Chuck and Doyle didn't get another mention for that. So another story for another day. Really appreciate your time. I think just before we get into the last question, a massive round of applause for all the guys. I think you see the wonderful work that's going on around the club, and this is just me speaking as a fan from the stuff that Dale and the guys put out on a weekly perspective, but being in this room tonight is just, I'm ready to run through some sort of wall. I'll probably get knocked out, but I'm ready to go when you need me. And just on that, what is your final message for this run-in, for what we can achieve?
I think my final run is let's stay together, let's be excited by the 6 weeks we've got left of this season. It's been a pretty special season so far, but we've got a few more hurdles to jump over. So, as always, football clubs stick together through the ups and downs, and I'm sure that we can do something special this season, have an exciting end. So for me, a huge thank you for your backing so far, individually and for everyone, all the players and everyone, because it means so much, and we feel it walking out of this stadium every day, every game is an incredible feeling. So thank you for your support, and together let's make it happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give up to Jonathan Brown, Mike Taylor, Ben Petrie,